As Congress returned from its August recess, the Congressional Republicans' agenda was derailed once again, this time by natural disasters versus the man-made variety to which we've become so accustomed. In a rare show of bipartisan camaraderie, President Trump and Democratic leaders Pelosi and Schumer struck a deal to raise the debt limit, to fund the government through December 8th, and to quickly pass a relief package for victims of Hurricane Harvey. That was all happening around the time that Hurricane Irma started rolling in. And nothing focuses the mind like 185-mile-an-hour winds ripping towards the third most populous state in the union. Trump was mocked and scorned for giving away GOP leverage on a debt ceiling, government funding for something that most people agree would have had to be done quickly anyway: hurricane relief. New York Post writer Seth Mandel referred to Trump's strategy in this negotiation as the art of the kneel. The people who never supported Trump aren't likely to cut him much slack anytime soon, and his supporters tend to explain his sometimes inexplicable decisions by saying he's playing five-dimensional chess, and we mere mortals simply can't follow along. Dog lover and sometimes political columnist Jonah Goldberg believes that rather than playing five-dimensional chess, Trump's game is more like the chicken playing tic-tac-toe, with the distinguishing characteristic that Trump's ungoverned id sometimes causes him to lash out at people who anger him, in this case, congressional Republican leaders. Whatever the motivation or strategy involved, the facts are these. Texans need flood relief, and they're going to get it expeditiously. Full stop. Here's hoping we do the same for Florida. By the way, the Tampa Marriott is fine and will be business as usual for the Eastern Regional Conference, November 13th through 15th. Register now and get the early bird discount. But the political upshot of the deal means Republicans will have to address the debt limit again before the end of the year. Meanwhile, we're still waiting for tax reform. We haven't seen a bill. And rumblings we're hearing about rates and LIFO treatment are disturbing. And that's from Republicans we thought might have our back. We're still waiting on health care reform. We're still waiting on Congress to level the playing field between online sellers and brick-and-mortar sellers. What's the rush, you say? Trump took office less than a year ago. Give him a chance. Well, the electoral calendar is unrelenting, and the 2018 midterm election campaigns begin in about 100 days. And Republicans have precious little to show for that year in power. So in those 100 days before the campaign starts to heat up, Republicans still have to deal with the budget and, thanks to the art of the deal, still have to deal with the debt ceiling again before the end of the year. Major initiatives like tax reform are hard enough to do when you've got plenty of time. Trying to jam something in by the end of the year will be exceedingly difficult, and when Congress starts to jam things through, mischief quickly ensues. That means we'll need to be hypervigilant about not letting Congress get away with ignoring S-corps and family businesses and acting solely on corporate tax rates. We also need to keep the pressure on to protect LIFO and to kill off the death tax. In other rather dismal news, our national debt broke the $20 trillion mark, an ignominious feat that underscores the fact that we're dead broke, and the government probably spends too much money. Talk about burying the lead. For the last several years, the debt-to-GDP ratio has been over 100%. Our debt keeps running up because every year the feds spend more than they take in tax revenue. Historically, countries with a debt-to-GDP ratio over 100% are considered basket cases. But wait, it gets worse. We're financing our federal debt at unrealistically low interest rates. In 1988, the feds had to pay an 8.8% interest rate to borrow. Since 2012, we've been financing debt at closer to 2%. Imagine if this rate gets closer to the historical average of 6%. The debt service cost could essentially triple. Right now, 7% of all federal spending goes to pay interest on the national debt. At higher rates, debt service really starts to blow a hole in the federal budget. When we talk about tax reform on Capitol Hill, we're always told that you have to pay for tax cuts with revenue raisers, like repealing LIFO. No one ever actually talks about cutting spending. The bottom line is that politicians never get very excited about giving up their power to spend other people's money. You don't like the sound of that? Well, here's your chance to change Congress. NAED has a PAC. In the last election, candidates we supported went undefeated. 7-0, baby. And at the risk of sounding like the gambling guy with the triple lead pipe lock of the week, we know how to pick 'em. You want to know more about NAED PAC? Call me or email me and tell me to call you. Contributing money to politicians is no one's idea of a good time, but like cleaning the bathroom, somebody's got to do it. Think of us as your scrubbing bubbles, dear member. Give me a call and let's talk. That's enough gloom and doom for one day. Thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting NAED.